Here we are. We're back. League of Inches. We've got the crew together -1. So, and look, guys, you probably know by now the one is the Dragons fan, Sid. We just want to start the video off by having just a moment of silence for our fallen troop. Obviously, they got towed up on the weekend. He's taken it pretty harshly. So, Sid, we're thinking of you, and just a quick moment of silence. Yeah, that's it, guys. Well done. So, weekend of trials done and dusted. We're into the real stuff now, and start off by we've changed the weekly award. We've changed to the weekly weapon, and I'm going to give that to Latrell Mitchell. I thought we mentioned the game just then, and I thought Latrell's game was up there with one of the better games I've seen. I know it's a trial, and I know it's against the Dragons, but just the control he had with the game and how well he had the ball going. So, Josh, I know you sort of missed the fallen teammate of ours. What do you make of the game on the weekend?
Well, I don't know. It's a trial match at the end of the day, isn't it? It's a charity shield, but they still use it as a trial match. So you can't take much from it. I don't know. Dragons just didn't look good at all. If that's anything to go by for the season, they're going to struggle big time. Like, big time. But South was strong. Latrell Mitchell was a weapon, yeah, like you said. It was, if he's on song, man, he's in for a big year, this bloke. Very big year. Let's just hope for the Blues' sake. I'm not a Rabbitoh supporter, but for the Blues' sake, he has a big year.
100%. I know we said things like it's just a trial, and look, for most part, that is the case. But I think it's when you get beat the way they do, there is some warning signs. That's two big losses in a row now. One against Para the week before, and now South. So it's not the greatest form you want to take in, even though it is trials. But Jace, I know you're a man of wisdom. What did you make of that game and the old trial saying?
Well, I know we're saying it's a trial, but at the end of the day, it's still Charity Shield, and Saints and Bunnies both take that game seriously. So St. George would have been going into that game to win. So them coming out, with that kind of a hiding is troubling signs for them, I think. So, it's all good and well to say it's a trial match, but I guarantee they would have been wanting to win that. So Charity Shield goes to South, and Dragons leave with their tail between their legs.
Yeah, I think they've got some crazy stat now. South's on the last, 10-12 or something, Charity Shields. So they're going pretty well with it. Dane, I know you've used to have Latrell at the Roosters, and I know you're a pretty big fan of him back then. And what have you liked about Latrell? I know we've had some discussions about him, and you're starting to see his come back to form. What is it that you liked on the weekend?
Look, Latrell, he's a huge talent. I think he's just got to get his attitude right, and then I think he can really start getting some cogs ticking. Look, it's good because you want superstars in the game like your Latrells. Look, I think it's a good start to the pre-season for the Rabbitohs. Dragons are looking more like dragons. So let's just see what once they're full strength and they hit the ground running come round one. Let's see what they can do. But I think it's a huge confidence booster for the Rabbitohs the way they played on the weekend.
Yeah, 100%. And brings us into, I know we're talking about the trials at the moment, and wanted to go through a couple of just talking points of the video. And Jace, you've brought up straight away about just having a chat about a rising star or a player that sort of caught each of our eyes. And you were the man that came up with it, so I'll go to you first. What's a player that caught your eye?
For me, there was a few, but I think the one for me that stands out the most is the young fella Dietz, the dummy half from the Bulldogs. He came on, given 20 minutes that last quarter of the trial match, and he absolutely blew it out of the park. If hopefully the Dogs give him a crack, dummy half. Like, Dogs are really searching for that dummy half, and I think if he's given the chance, I think he can perform. I just hope it's not another incident like we had with Damien Cook. You know what I mean? Just not give him a crack at first grade and just leave him there and then tell him he's right to go elsewhere. But for me, he really impressed, did his job at hooker, made his tackles, got out from dummy half, sparked that comeback. Like, Dogs were down 12-4 and he was the one that really sparked and got him over the line at the end.
I think with your side, you look at it, and that hooker position, as you said, is a bit of a mark in the team at the moment. No disrespect to Marshall King, which for some reason I've always seen him as like a playmaker more than a hooker who's been forced to play that role. If that's sort of correct to say with you dog fans, but I didn't get to watch too much of that trial, but I've heard great things about that kid, and I hope for your sake he goes well. Josh, I know you're another Doggies fan. Have you got someone to par for here, or do you want to add to him a bit more?
Yeah, no, Jason hit the nail on the head with him, man. That's the guy we need, man. Definitely another Damien Cook. Marshall King, I don't even know if he can play in the halves, to be honest. He's more of a bench player. You know what I mean? Coming off the bench, just add something like dummy half, utility kind of player. But yeah, hopefully they start depth in Marshall King. But we'll see what happens throughout the year, man. And also Joseph Suwali, I watched a bit of him play. He looks good, man. Only 17 years old. But, man, he looks like the real deal, this kid, man.
Yeah.
He looks good. Dane must be cheering, man.
Don't get Dane too excited. He's already been in his pants a bit over this guy, and I'll go to him now, and I'll be shocked if he doesn't mention him. Dane, what about your player?
Yeah, hold on, boys. I'm just knocking one out. Joseph Suwali. Yeah, no, he was my standout. He played really, really good against the big boys. He's 95 kilos, 6'3". He's tall, he's strong. He was mixing it with them. I think he played really, really well, and I think there's a lot of potential in this kid. I just hope that the Roosters or some club can hold on to him, because I think he's a star future, man. Future star, sorry.
Yeah, I think so. I honestly just would wish the NRL would just either say yes or no and be done with the whole saga, though, to be honest. I think just let him play. He's obviously good enough. And anytime these kids come up and just making his reception. So, look, it's a good segue into the next point of ours. And my one would probably be, I'll go a senior player. I'd actually go Papali'i for Parramatta. Over the last 2 weeks, he's sort of really come on, where he was at the Warriors and not much was probably said about him. He was a bench player and played the odd 20, 30-minute spell. But I think for us, he's actually showed quite a bit. He's got a good hole running, and he's actually quite aware. So I don't think he'll be pushing for a starting spot yet, but he'll definitely get a few minutes with us. And I think he's won himself a bench spot, which was up for grabs. So, but as I said, it'd go into a good segue for the next point, which I know Dane's fired up for, so I'm going to throw straight to him. It's about the modern rugby league player, and do they sort of take advantage of and the lifestyle that they get. They've got 10, 15 years max to sort of really put their foot forward and set themselves up for life, really. And some of them are really pushing that barrier. So, Dane, what are you thinking at the moment with this?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a circus. Like, if you look at some of these players, the coin that they get paid, the opportunity that they've got, all the free stuff they probably get, the free time that they've got, I think a lot of them do take it for granted. Highly paid, they're going out, running amok, getting into, scenarios that they shouldn't be getting into. And, yeah, I just think it's a bit of a G-up. They've got such a good opportunity that they take for granted. And, yeah, like you look at your Todd Carneys and Ben Barber's, so much talent, and it's just wasted. Now, I don't know if it's the mentoring behind the scenes. I know that there's mentors and, they give them financial guidance and all sorts of things. At the end of the day, you can only influence that. You can't tell them that they have to do it. So I think they need a big wake-up call. I think the NRL needs to change they give them suspended fines and things like that. I don't think it's enough. Give them a one strike, based on, grade what the off-field drama is, and then one strike, you're out, depending on the grading, or 2 strikes and you're out. Just tear up contracts, set an example so that people don't play up. And it's just, the NRL is a laughing stock. Every week there's something in the news, on the, in the papers, on social media, with someone that's done something stupid. And, there's a reason there's a spotlight on the NRL and the NRL players, especially the young ones. It's because they're loose cannons. And yeah, they just take the opportunity for granted. Some of them have got their head switched on right, and they don't put themselves in those scenarios or in those places where they can, where they can slip up. But yeah, I think it really needs attention from the NRL.
Yeah, I think that it is a small minority. We'll admit that, but the small minority seems to, obviously the papers sell more with all these negative stories and we hear more of them. There's a lot of good in the game. But Josh, do you agree with what Dane's saying?
Yeah, 100%, man. There's not any of us here like sitting right here wouldn't like to play first grade right now, yeah?
Yeah.
And how honoured we'll be. And that's 100%, 100%. They're taking it for granted. They're getting what, maybe $5,000 a week, whatever they're getting paid. You know what I mean? I'll behave for bloody $50 a week. It's peanuts, you know what I mean? Yeah, 100%. They're taking it for granted, man. Dane hit the nail on the head with everything he said. But what can you say? Maybe they just want to live a normal life in that sense, but they're role models at the end of the day. Yeah. Every player's a role model.
It's a sort of that situation where you can't be a first grade footballer and live a normal life. It just doesn't come together. It's the part of the thing that you sign up for, and you need to sort of train it. This is why I guess the whole saga with having a young kid coming into grade, they've got to be ready for it, and you've probably got to mentally more than anything. Physically, they're probably already there. It's mentally for this game. We've seen so many people get. We all remember Tim Smith, for instance. He was going to be the best halfback since Sterling for Parramatta, and he's left within a certain time frame. So players got to remember that they're in the spotlight. If they want to make grade and be there, they've got to set the example. But I don't like the whole, if we all lose our job, which I bet all of us have happened in the past, no one cries, oh, that's his career, let's keep him in. With NRL players, just because they don't become a first-grade footballer anymore and lose that position doesn't mean they can't go out to be a labourer or get involved with some sort of trade and do it the hard way, do it what everyone else is doing. So, Jason, I know you've had a couple of nods of the head, things like that. What do you think about this topic?
Yeah, both the two fellas definitely got it right. Like I think for these players, at the end of the day, they're human beings. They're going to make mistakes, but the problem is they're not learning from the mistakes. That's the biggest part.
Yeah,
you learn from a mistake. Everyone makes a mistake. It's going to happen, but only a fool makes the same mistake twice. And it's the same, and it's always the same people making the same mistake. Like, I'm sure there's other players in the NRL that have made that mistake and realized that, you know what, I have a responsibility to this club, to my family. I have a reputation to uphold. They've learned from their mistake, set themselves right. Whereas these other players are just like, who gives a stuff? I'm playing in the NRL. If someone tears up my contract, I'll go somewhere else. And they just it's just history repeating itself with a lot of these guys.
They get to hide behind
They just fly straight over. Yeah. And plus, they just fly straight overseas, you know what I mean? Get done here, go straight to England. Get probably twice as much money.
That's the thing. You'd probably get some cases where the manager actually encourages them. They go, get out of your contract. I've got your one lined up for an extra $300K a year over in Japan rugby or something. So go for your life for the next 2 weeks and try and get suspended and get your contract torn up. So, it's the way it goes. I think most fans are at the same stage as we are, and I think that's where, with us, we've got a lot of feedback lately about the page being a lot more fan-driven, which we're about, which all about trying to talk about from a fan's point of view. And I think this is what clubs and players and a few of the players and that starting to like the videos and stuff. So that I think we're getting across. It's just that most, as I said, most do the right thing. It's just a small minority, and as Josh and that pointed out, is that they continually do it as well. It's just like, I don't get it. There's no point crying wolf over a situation just because you shouldn't have been out there in the first place in that crowd. You know what's going to happen. I know what's going to happen. I'm not even a professional athlete. So become a professional sports player. You've got to be a professional both on and off the field for mine. So I think that's what it comes down to. Jace, you've pulled up another good point, which would be the injury toll this off-season, and it has been a bit concerning. I think there's been a fair few players this off-season get some injuries, some for extended periods of time, some niggles and things like that. I'm guessing you brought it up, so you've got a bit of a thought process behind why.
Yeah, so for me, it's the same thing I said from last year. They're trying to speed up this game. And in order to speed up the game, these athletes need to get fitter. And they've probably all been pushing themselves really hard this off-season. But the human body can only take so much. And I think a lot of these guys, we're going to see a lot more injuries this season. Like I've said it before, our game's fast as it is. Like it's ridiculously fast-paced. And they're bringing in all these new rules to speed it up even more. They're not machines. Their bodies are going to give way, and it's starting to show. And it's only pre-season. The season hasn't even started yet. You got guys, breaking things, tearing muscles. And I think once the season starts and it's, pedal to the metal, I think there's going to be a lot more injuries that we see.
I think 100%. I think it gets to a point. I'm all for speeding up the game, but there's also got to be a player welfare. Players are the reason why there is a game, and the fans. Sorry, but if there was no players, there's no actual game on TV, and there's no teams coming out. So we've got it. It's a fine line that the game's got to tread. I've been reading a few things today and yesterday that some people are starting to question this. It's probably the only thing they've questioned Peter V'landys on. It's probably these rules that keep coming out and keep getting updated. Dane, what's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, look, I agree with Jason there. I mean, you're seeing younger players with, longer out times, I suppose, from the game, like your Victor Radley's, your Tom Travojevic. He's a success story that, it's what could have been, I suppose, because such a great talent, but that hamstring, he just keeps, I think they rush them back too quick as well. And I think that's what's happened with Tom. But you're just seeing these younger players and, so many injuries and, they're out and then straight away they put a time on it. It should be a 4 to 5 week injury. And I look at it and think, geez, I'd be sitting out for at least 2 months, maybe 3 months, get it all healed up properly, good and proper, and then, get back into it. But match fitness is so important these days to be training to keep up with the pace of the game, like Jason mentioned. So yeah, it's a tough one. I'm not a big fan of rules changing every single year. I mean, yeah, we want to see exciting football and so forth, but we want to see the players that we, the top echelon, the elite of the elite, the big money players. You want to see them playing week in, week out. And if you've got too many injuries, it just changes the dynamic of teams as well. And yeah, look, I agree with Jason. It's a good point.
I think the other point for this would be 2020 was obviously stopped because of COVID and restarted, and it ran deeper. So the players, I guess, had a shorter off season. I guess that encourages players to go out and do the things they not necessarily should be doing, i.e. out in the drink and other things you do while partying, and it also impacts the body. For mine, I sort of think that it was the first time. I know I'm a passionate league man, and maybe because it's been busy with the pages, work and things like that, but it was like all of a sudden there was trials on, and it wasn't. I never had that massive inkling this off season of missing the footy. Like obviously missing the footy, but there's that time frame where time goes slow normally each off season, and you're like, where the hell is the footy? Where this season it sort of didn't happen. So, Josh, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think there's definitely a player burnout sort of factor?
Yeah, I think you boys covered all the facts, man. 100%. Jason's right, man. It's a player burnout. It's a shorter off season. They're training harder. The game's faster. The rules are changing. I think NRL changes the rules most than any other code I can think of. Every year there's something changing. Like even we can change our rules during the season. That's how stupid it is. And no one else does that. Only we do for some reason. But yeah, like the interchanges, like everything's changing. Players are changing. Yeah. Dane said, we want to see the best players play week in and week out, and we're not getting that opportunity. Kalen Ponga's out. We didn't see him in the State of Origin, you know what I mean? A lot of players out. We don't see him. We want to see the best players play the best, and I think they're just burning themselves out. And that's it.
I think it's 100%. So I don't know what. I think this year is probably the season where they didn't change anything. They should have just kept it going, kept the roll on from last season. Go, look, boys, really appreciate what you've done for the 2020 season, and you ended up getting to the end and having the grand final, things like that, and got State of Origin out of the way, got our TV rights deal done. And I think this was a year to just sort of keep it going and let players keep going. But I guess we'll see what happens. I'm a bit cautious. I'm with Jason and everyone else. I think there might be a really big injury play this year. I think it's going to be the best squad overall will win the comp, not necessarily the best 17. So it's going to be a really interesting year ahead, especially with Origin again back to mid-season, which will be another massive toll, I think, on a lot of these teams. So another thing that sort of comes into play and it all sort of comes around would be I've noticed lately a lot of the clubs have announced their captains, and a lot of teams have gone the dual captaincy or co-captaincy avenue. And my biggest question is, does it work? Now, I just want to go around and get everyone's thoughts on a yes or no and a quick sort of detailed explanation of why. Josh, co-captaincy, does it work for you?
There's only one captain in the team. All right, that's it. That's for me. That's what I'm very pure like that. Because if there's too many captains, who's speaking to the ref? Who's speaking to the players? The players want to hear one voice. If there's everyone talking amongst each other, who's listening to who? There should be one captain out on the field, and that's it. That's my final opinion, man. There's only one captain. You can't have a co-captain. You can't have this. You can't have that. You're going to make the whole team captains, and everyone's going to talk to the ref. You know what I mean? You can't do that. You have one captain, and that's it. He leads the team out. He speaks to the ref, and he does everything else.
100%. Dane, co-captains, are you a fan?
Yeah, look, I think it's, as a concept, I think it's good. But does it work? I don't think it does. I mean, if you've got two people, they're going to think differently. They're going to want to do different things. They're going to want to say different things. You've got to make sure that you're on the same page. And I think you have to bite your tongue sometimes if you don't agree or, have a separate conversation and compromise. I think a team needs to be led by one player, and they play for the, they play for the club, obviously, and the fans and, all the staff and everything else. But the coach and the captain are dead set. They're the most important. And that's what the players are going to play for. That's my opinion on that.
I think you're pretty spot on with that. Jason?
Yeah, I agree with the other fellas, but I think the only time it sort of, works is if your main captain is a front rower. So, more than likely he's not going to see out the whole game. He'll have his little spells here and there, and while he's off, the other fella takes over. But that's, even then, like Dane said, you got two people that think differently. While the main captain is off the field, the other fella might be, trying to steer the team in a different direction. It'll be hard for it to work smoothly, but I think it can work to an extent. But I don't think it'll work 100%. No.
I think on the field you need your one captain. Obviously, is leading from the front. It's a mixture of your person who plays the best and also good with their words. But off the field, I think basically your coach is your captain. No matter what whatever the coach says, basically goes in the end of the day. So I don't know why clubs do the two captaincy. I guess, as Jason said, it might be a forward thing, but then you'd think the West Tigers would be doing the co-captaincy, and they've just gone for their props. So James Tamo. So it just makes it's a bit interesting. I'm personally not a massive fan of it. I think just the old-fashioned one captain, lead by example, but I guess some clubs are like that. Now, we've got a few questions sent through by some viewers over today. I had it up on Instagram, and first one, obviously asking for a South perspective, and he wants to know who's going to get the final edge spot between host and Kolomatangi. Josh, I'll go to you for this one.
I don't even know who they are, to be honest.
Oh, well, I won't go to you then. Jason, I'll go to you.
I don't follow him, but dogs, mate. Go show the Jakes that one.
But honestly, I think host will get it. Like, from what I saw of him from last year, during his play when he was at the Dragons, I thought he was very promising. I think he should be given a shot at it, and I think he would do great on that edge.
Yeah, I agree. Even though when I was watching Charity Shield the other night, I really like what I've seen from Kolomatangi. He runs really, really hard, but I think he might be better to come off the bench when there's some tired forwards, especially because he's still young. Dane, I know you did the Raiders preview the other day and just got some good feedback. So well done, you closet Raiders fan. Brian James, do you reckon he's going to start?
I wouldn't see why not.
Yeah, nice.
Short and sweet.
Short and sweet. All right. Well, to the fan who asked that question, why not?
He's going to start, mate. No.
Ricky Stewart, why not? Just why not? Now, Josh,
No,
I hope you know this
sorry?
player. Tex Hoy, Newcastle Knights, playing fullback for while obviously Ponga's injured. What's your all the viewers asked is what our thoughts are on Tex Hoy. Obviously, he's a Knights fan, hasn't seen much of him. What do you think of Tex Hoy?
He's no Kalen Ponga, that's for sure. So don't go getting your hopes up, you know what I mean? But he's solid. He'll be a solid fullback. He's just a solid fullback, no flair about him, nothing like that. But he's good under the high ball. He's got a bit of pace, but yeah, that's about it, man. So you can't compare him to a Kalen Ponga because no one can. But he's more like just a solid fullback, man. A very solid fullback. From what I've seen, that's all I've seen of it.
Yeah, it's a good point you're making. I won't do so much about it now as the video's getting to an end. But just we remember, especially Knights fans and stuff, these players who come in are only sort of fringe players. So don't expect them to be, as you said, Kalen Ponga and things like that. They are going to have a little bit, probably a bit more mistakes in them. They are there for, and this is the same thing with injuries. If someone does come in, don't expect the world of them. They're too early or too early on in their careers and help them out. So last one, and look, I'm going to go back to Dane with this one. He mentioned, actually, I'm going to get a quick one on from all of you. Should Manly look at changing Tom Trbojevich's position moving forward to help his body deal with the rigours of NRL?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Nailed it on the head again.
Yeah.
I think he should be playing centre.
Yeah, 100%, man. How good did he play centres in Origin?
I reckon you'd get more out of him. Like he'd have a lot more spark. Like, not to say that he doesn't at fullback, but I just think you'd see a lot more. You'd see a lot more out of him, to be honest.
Yeah, I know Manly did get pumped yesterday, but they didn't have a lot of their star players in. But their young fullback, I forgot his name at the moment, but he actually showed a bit of promise. I think he is someone that they can look to for the future and move Turbo to that centre position. Jason, what are your thoughts on the potential Trbojevic move?
Hey?
Yeah, you.
You're the only Jason I know on this video.
No, the other Jason.
Look, I think it'll be smart on Manly's part to add a bit of longevity to his career because, like I said before, with this game speeding up, you're going to see a lot more injuries. And someone like Tommy Turbo, who's notorious for hamstring injuries, the quicker the game gets, the more likely that hamstring's going to go. So him at centre, he's not building up that speed like returning the ball from a kick where he's got that time. And most of the time when he has done a hammy, you've seen him, it's when he's returning that kick and he's had time to build up his speed and get there. I think at centre, short, sharp bursts. And I think it would add a bit more longevity to his career, definitely.
He has pulled a hamstring running down a mall as well.
He didn't do it then. Just ask him. He didn't do it then. So Pinocchio's telling the truth there. Look, Josh, you've been. I'm going to give you the nightly Sid Award in memory of Sid. I want you to give us the last word.
Lucky fucker.
Yeah, I want you to give us the last word, please, as Sid normally would do.
Just going back to a question, one of the fans asked why is Jason so black. I just want to let them know he's just born like that, yeah? So don't just get married.
It's funny because you're blacker than me. So.
Hey, man, that's I'm just what the fans are asking, bro.
Me and Dave.
Could you please give me that fan's address and the fan? His name wouldn't happen to be Josh Naidu, would it?
No. I think it was James Ram or something.
That's too much for me this day and age. I don't want us to get shut down. So me and Daniel sit here in silence. But on a final thought, look, guys, thanks once again. Just a reminder, we do have the tipping comp. We've got the Super Coach and we've got the NRL Fantasy out there as well. If you've been able to manage to get through this whole video and you can hear this, please go ahead, and if you haven't already, join it. There's some good prizes already offer on a case of craft beer, and a free Bill Doctor sample. So a couple of the sponsors on board and really plugging it. So please go ahead and be part of it. It's going to be some good talking points about the year, but we'll be back next week. Obviously, team lists will be out, so we can talk about some games in the lead up, which will be exciting. And hopefully we can find Sid, which a quick shout out. If anyone does find Sid, please message the page, let us know where he is, and let us know that he is okay. And please check on your Dragons, mates. It's going to be a pretty tough year ahead. Thanks, guys. Have a good week and bring on footy next week.